Hey, now welcome. You are listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. It's W.E.A.L.T.H 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation, our favorite radio station. And we are creating millionaires one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time. And that means you. Well, let me tell you, I am always so excited to talk to people who are doing things in the community to help us decrease and or eliminate, or shall I say, eradicate the wealth gap. Well, guess what? I can't think of anybody better to have this conversation with than Mr. Santos Borges, who is a community manager in Chicago for community and business development. He is a local ambassador for Chase, whose job is to build and nurture relationships with key community leaders, nonprofit partners, and small businesses at the neighborhood level. I'm so excited because Santos hosts financial health workshops, he facilitates nonprofit partnerships, and he offers community programming. He is helping to advance racial equity by supporting Black and Latinx communities with tools and resources to help us improve our financial well-being. Welcome to the Roundtable, Santos. How are you?
Hey, Lynn, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
Well, I am excited, and I know that with all of your years of experience in the financial services industry, you're going to be able to give us some things that we need, because the one thing that I think is changing faster than the weather is the financial status of this world. It seems like it's, and especially in the windy city of Chicago, you never know what you're going to get.
You said it right. It right.
You never know what you are going to get in this financial space. But the reason I'm so happy to have you here is because there's one thing I say is you never know what the world is going to do, but you can certainly be in position to know what you're going to do every single day. And so I want to just get right into it because, credit is so important. During the pandemic, we saw the highest credit scores and the highest amount of savings than we've seen in a very, very long time. And right now, with inflation, with higher interest rates, and with everything that's going on, folks are suffering as it relates to the individual credit. So if I could just ask you some questions to educate our audience, I think that would be magnificent. Let me ask you this. For those who aren't exactly sure, what is a credit score?
Yeah, so thank you for that, Lynn. And as you mentioned, credit is extremely important right now as it's ever been before, right? And credit is tied to so many things that we do in our daily life, whether that's buying a car, getting auto insurance, buying a home, right? And what credit really is, it's a story of who you are as a customer. And it tells the bank how trustworthy you are, and if they can trust you enough to lend to you. So when we think about credit, right, there's three credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and they gather all of the information that you have on credit, all the accounts you have open, what type of credit limits you had, how you've paid over time, and they come up with your credit score, right? Now, the bank is going to use your credit score and your credit reports to determine, again, how trustworthy you are, if there's a lot of risk involved in extending credit to you. And now when they look at your credit score and your credit reports, they're going to determine a couple things, right? Do they feel comfortable lending to you? And then also, at what cost do they feel comfortable lending to you? So generally, the stronger credit score and the stronger credit report, the more favorable rates you're going to get. So it's just going to really help your overall financial situation when you really can understand credit and credit scores. Credit is part of your financial power. So if you can really understand how credit works and monitor your credit and keep good credit, you're going to set yourself up for a really good financial, healthy future.
All right. Well, we know that the credit score is basically the number that tells the story of who you are as a customer. And the good news is understanding how it works and monitoring it. This is what I want people to know, because I don't want them to feel like, okay, you have this number and you have no control over it. The good news is understanding how it works and monitoring it. So you have to know, but you also have to watch. Monitoring it can help you take control of that story over time. So let me ask you this, Santos. What are some tips to help you make the most of your credit score and build it over time?
Yes, great question. And I think you mentioned one of the most important tips there, right? Understanding where you're at, right? If you haven't pulled your credit report in the last few months, the first step is pull your credit report, see where you're at, and then understand what you have to do to improve your credit score. Now, there's 5 major factors when you're looking at your credit report. One of the most important factors is payment history. We want to make sure we're paying our bills on time as agreed, and that's going to be roughly 35% of your total credit score. The next factor, it's going to be amounts owed. And when I say amounts owed, we're talking about your utilization rate, right? How much of your credit are you using? That factor is about 30% of your total credit score. So if you think about it, if you pay your bills on time and you can keep your credit utilization rate low, that's 65% of your credit score. And when I'm talking about credit utilization, I'll give you an example. If you have a credit cards are meant to be used and paid in full every month. If you do need to carry a balance, and a lot of people sometimes have to carry a balance, you may be purchasing something you can pay off in full, you should try to keep your balances under 30% of your total credit limit so that it doesn't have a negative impact on your credit score. Once you start going over that 30%, your credit starts to go down. So payment history, pay your bills on time, credit utilization rate, use as little of your credit limit as possible. The next factor on there is length of credit history, right? And that's about 15% of your credit score. So the longer you have good credit, the longer you're paying your bills on time, the more positive and stronger credit you're going to have. One thing I would say about length of credit history is some of my clients have sometimes closed out their very first credit card, right? So you want to be careful with doing things like closing out a credit card that you've had for a very long time, because now you're closing out some of your credit history. So it's okay to keep a credit card at a zero balance, not use it, and keep it open because you've had it for a long time, right? The next factor is going to be credit mix. So you want to have a balance of secured and unsecured credit. And when we talk about a credit mix, you have things like your auto loan that's going to be secured against your car. And then you have unsecured credit, like credit cards that don't have any collateral tied to it. So you want to have a combination of both secured and unsecured. That's about 10%. The next factor is going to be new credit, right? So we only want to try to apply for credit when we need it, or if we're trying to create some type of credit building strategy. So I would say, be careful when you're going to all the retail stores and they're offering you 20% off of your purchase for that, to apply for that credit card, because these credit inquiries, whenever you apply for credit, it's considered a credit inquiry and it shows up on your credit report. And if you have too many credit inquiries, it can start to lower your credit score. Not only that, but then when you really do need some credit or you're trying to buy something and you have too many credit inquiries, it can show up as you're risky to the bank. So you only want to try to apply for credit when you need it, or if you're trying to use a credit building strategy.
Okay. All right. I love it. That's thorough. And it really, gives us a blueprint of how we can deal with this thing, because I think folks don't understand just paying the bill on time every month isn't enough. It's are you paying it off, and what are those balances in relation to your credit limit? Because someone could say, well, I pay every single month. Yeah, but you owe $10,000 and your balance is $9,998. That is right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We want to try to keep it under 30% of your total credit limit, right?
Yes, absolutely. And what people don't need to kind of understand is, if it looks like you're living off of your card, so yes, you pay it every month, but as soon as you pay $100, you go charge $100. So the balance never changes. Then that might send a signal that your cash flow has been impacted and you could be in danger of anything happening and not being able to pay that bill every month. So thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for bringing that out, because I think folks really need to understand that it's more than meets the eye with this. So what you are sharing with us here is invaluable. Don't turn that dial. We'll be right back. WVON.
More of the Millionaires Roundtable coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I'm your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are creating millionaires one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time. And that means you. We're here with Santos Borges with JP Morgan Chase, and he is dropping the knowledge. Let me ask you this, Santos, because you've already given us so much. What are some other ways to help my credit score? So I've already heard what you said. I'm paying my bills. I'm keeping my balances low. What's next? What are some other ways I can help my score?
Yeah, I think we mentioned, right, really understanding where you're at. So if you're not checking your credit score regularly, you need to first make sure you're checking your credit score. And you can check your credit score for free at chase.com/credit journey. There's also a website. It's www.annualcreditreport.com, where you can check all three of your credit reports. And again, we mentioned Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So we want to make sure we're checking all three credit bureaus. There might be something on one of the credit bureaus that's not reported to the other. So it's important that we check all three of them. And if there's something on there that's not accurate, we want to dispute it, right? We want to make sure that all the information on our credit reports are accurate. And if not, dispute it. When you dispute it, the credit bureaus have a certain amount of time to reach out to the company that's reported this information to make sure it's accurate. If not, they have to remove it from your credit report. So one, make sure you're checking your credit report at any of these websites. Two, if there's something on there that's not accurate, make sure you dispute it. And then when we're thinking about credit scores, a credit score can range from 300 to 850. Normally, when we consider a good credit score, 700 or above. So we went over different factors on how to improve your credit, and we want to continue to monitor the credit to try to get it to that 700 or above. One last thing I would say is when you're preparing for a large purchase, if it's a home purchase or an auto loan purchase, we want to pull our credit, understand where we're at, so that when we go apply for that home or that auto loan, we could apply with confidence, right? We want to make sure we build our credit as strong as we can, so that when you do go try to apply for that mortgage or that auto loan, you not only are you getting approved, but you're getting the best rate possible.
You know what? That's an excellent point. Just in one of my businesses, we were considering a line of credit, and no pun intended, but it actually happens to be Chase. I love Chase, and we love our Chase relationship banker. And before one of the executives applied for the specific financial product, she made sure she knew what her credit score was, and also what was the minimum credit score for that product, so that the process could be successful. So knowing that score definitely will put you on track to either be successful in what it is that you're after, and or doing what you have to do to get that score up. I've also seen situations where someone's score may have dropped because they're on business travel, and so they charged a lot on one of their credit cards, and they didn't pay it off right away because they're still in the middle of travel. But when that next cycle came, they paid it down to zero, and the credit score went back up. So the credit score really is this muscle that works, and it works if you work it. So thank you so much for that. This is so good. Let me ask you this, and you've been so helpful here today. If there's anything else you want to share, please do so, Santos, but also tell us how we can connect with you, how we can connect with Chase, and what can we do to get more help?
Yeah, thank you. So we're committed to driving financial health to our communities, and we do that a lot by financial health workshops at some of our different banking centers. We have the Chase Stony Island Community Branch, where we host a series of financial health workshops, which include credit health, budgeting and savings, and the path to homeownership. So I would say you can visit our Stony Island Chase branch or any branch in the Chicagoland area. just to inquire on some of our financial health workshops and join one of them, right? Not only that, but we have some resources and tools at www.chase.com/financial goals that can help you create a budget, or they can also give you tips on credit and how to improve your credit.
Well, let me tell you, there you have it, everybody. And I am so serious. I am not just a host and a fan. I am also a long-term customer. I have a production company, and we're in season 2 of our sitcom that airs on several of the major networks out there. And Chase has been such a great partner with us. And I know that Chase is a great partner with all of you. Thank you, Santos, for everything that you're doing. Thank you for this invaluable information. Thank you for giving us this blueprint. And to everybody, to all of us, hey, let's work this muscle and let's work it together. Thanks so much, Santos.
Thank you.
Who should you go to for financial advice? Author, TV personality, and celebrity financial coach, Lynn Richardson.
Let's bring in financial expert Lynn Richardson.
My girl, Lynn Richardson.
Here we have Dr. Lynn Richardson. Good morning.
Financial expert Lynn Richardson.
Lynn knows what's up.
We're joined by financial expert Lynn Richardson, author of Get Your Money Back, Tax Deductions You Never Knew About.
Be at peace with the money that you have, because everybody knows money cannot buy happiness.
To learn more about Lynn Richardson's webinars, books, and online courses, please go to lynnrichardson.com.
More of the Millionaires Roundtable coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I'm your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are creating millionaires one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time, and that means you. Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I'm your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are creating millionaires one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time, and that means you. Yes, the harvest is here and the time is now. We're talking about the stair steps to wealth. Number 1 was to spend less money. Number 2, get more money. Number 3, get your money back. Number 4, make your money grow and plan for retirement. Because when you are working, you need a paycheck, but when you retire, you need a paycheck. Number 5 was to protect your wealth and your assets and your loved ones with proper life insurance and estate planning. Number 6, the next one, is to own where you live. Invest in real estate. Make that a part of your strategy at some point. And now we are here on number 7, and that is to deal with your credit. Deal with your credit. Manage your credit. But most importantly, strategically, put things in place so that you can grow financially and get the things that you want and do the things that you want to do. Now, several of my colleagues believe in being 100% debt free. I have found that to be impossible for most people I know. Most people I know need a mortgage for a home. Most people I know need the ability to get a car note. I personally believe that you should buy a car, pay it off, and then drive that joker for 15 years if you can, car note free, and keep that money in your pocket so you could make it grow. That is my situation. I have a 2005 Mercedes that I still own. I bought it in 2010. It had less than 50,000 miles on it, and it was about $40,000 cheaper than the brand new Mercedes. And so I saved a whole lot of money. I don't drive a whole lot anyway. The car still looks good. But I also lease a Mercedes. My company leases a Mercedes because that car is for company purposes, and the entire lease is a tax write-off to me. As long as I'm driving that car for business, which is I only drive the car for business, and I don't drive a lot anyway. So most people I know are going to leverage other people's money while they are building their own, and or they're going to make certain financial moves that are beneficial to either their cash flow and or their ability to build credit. Credit is like a muscle.
You have to exercise it in order for it to grow. And I recommend that you have a strong credit score over being 100% debt free forever and never having any credit at all. Now, if you don't have any credit at all, that's actually okay for buying a home. You can still buy a home with absolutely no credit score, okay? But it's the low credit score that then becomes a problem for most people who are trying to acquire some kind of asset that they do not have the cash to pay for. So we were talking about bankruptcy, and it is not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. There are a couple of things that are specifically to your advantage if you are in trouble. If your home, I said earlier, if you have an installment debt, like a car note or a furniture bill, you can call them, get a deferment, where mortgages don't necessarily work that way. During the pandemic, there were some allowances. However, your house went into another status. So if someone goes to pull your credit report and you want to refinance or buy another home, they're going to see that you're not paying your current mortgage, and it's going to be a problem. So if you miss your, let's say your January car payment, when February rolls around, you can just pay it. That's not how a mortgage works. If you miss the January mortgage payment, when February rolls around, you have to pay January and February at the same time. They do not take partial payments for mortgages unless you have some kind of forbearance or other default arrangement put in place, which at that point, it will probably impact your score. But if you are past due on your mortgage and you cannot catch up, you can file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy will place all of your past due mortgage payments, but you will also get your other debt, your car notes, your credit cards, and all of it will be wrapped into one payment that it will be lower than what you would have had to pay if you paid it all separately. So there's a couple of things that they're going to knock off. They're going to knock off excessive interest on some of your lower status creditors. So in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, the home is at the top of the food chain. Your car notes and installment debts, they come second, and student loans. But your credit cards that you owe, your Visa, your MasterCard, your department store cards, they're going to come at the end. And unfortunately, they will not get all of their money. So if you owe your creditor $2,000, by the time they start to pay that creditor off, or by the time they pay it off, you may have only paid them $700. So some of your interest has been knocked off. Okay, that's with the Chapter 13 bankruptcy when you are going to pay the debt. Now let's talk about a Chapter 7 bankruptcy when you're not going to pay the debt. You get to choose which debt you're going to keep in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And one of the things that you can ask for if you are behind on your car note or you're going to file a Chapter 7, you can ask for a 722 redemption. A 722 redemption is going to enable you to keep that car, but they're going to shave off all of the excess interest. It is a win-win situation, and it is a game changer for people who are trying to get to the next level. So this is about strategy. This is about preserving yourself, preserving your legacy, and setting yourself up to win. And I am a witness. It is not the end of the world. Bankruptcy can help you strategize for a better future. The harvest is here, and the time is now. It is your season to win.
Hi, I'm financial expert Lynn Richardson. You may have seen me on Good Morning America, The Steve Harvey Show, or Get Up Mornings with Erica Campbell. Guess what? Did you know you can get your money back if you hire your kids? You can get your money back if you go out to eat. You can get your money back if you go on a vacation. Well, guess what? In my book, Get Your Money Back, Tax Deductions You Never Know About, I'm going to teach you how you can get your money back with your home-based business legally, ethically, and all with the permission of the IRS. Just go to AskLynn.org.
The harvest is here. The time is now. It is your season to win. And yes, you can win with your credit. You can win with strategic planning as it relates to your credit. Now, I'm talking about personal credit. I'll have to deal with business credit at some time in the future. And I will. I'll go in depth into business credit. But what I want you to get here is being strategic about your own credit so you can then be even more strategic and have more power with your business credit. The beautiful thing about business credit, and I'll just say this, is for many kinds of business credit, your personal credit really does not matter. It's how well your business is doing. This is why you want to not just have a home-based business. You want to have a successful business. You don't want to run a janky business, and you don't want to run a broke business. Okay? Let me tell you, we're going to talk about janky businesses because I'm so tired of them. All right? But right now, we're talking about credit, and we're talking about having power. And what I'm saying to you is, if you've made a mistake, it is not the end of the world. And people who file bankruptcy are better off in a shorter amount of time than people who just keep bad credit year after year after year after year. I know people who've had collections and poor credit for, 10 years, 15 years, a dozen years, and they're afraid to file bankruptcy. But the truth is, had they filed the bankruptcy 10 years ago and learned the lesson, so you can get the blessing, but more importantly, learn the lesson so you don't make those same mistakes and end up in debt again, then you can actually have more power and more financial strength. And remember, credit is an exercise. You must use it. A credit is like a muscle. You must exercise it in order for it to grow. Credit cannot grow if it is not leveraged and if you do not charge the thing or get the line of credit and actually pay it back. You have to do that. Here's a couple of other things I want to share with you. If you've had a bankruptcy and you're dealing with a credit situation, get a secured credit card from a major bank. When you have a credit card from a major bank, it tells other banks that, oh, there's someone who trusts this person. There are secured credit cards at Bank of America. I'm not endorsing anyone right now. I'm just giving you information. A secured credit card will allow you to put money in a savings account. Let's say $500, $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, or whatever it is. You cannot withdraw that money. They will then give you a credit card, and that savings account will be used as collateral just in case you do not pay. After you have paid for sometimes even less than a year, I had a secure Discover card, and not only did they give me my money back in less than a year, they increased my credit line, which I keep the balance at zero. So you're getting more power. So now I have a major credit card. A Bank of America has a secured credit card. Citibank has a secured credit card, and Wells Fargo has a secured business credit card. Okay, so you can get some credit so that you can practice, meaning you're going to charge something that you were going to pay cash for anyway. So for example, charge your gas, your gasoline, charge your groceries, charge maybe your hair, nails, or your haircuts. Charge those things, and then take the money that you were going to use as cash to pay it off, so you get in the practice of using that credit and making your credit score grow. All right. Here's something else that can help you after bankruptcy and even in Chapter 13, paying all of your other creditors. Okay. So one of the ways I help people get approved for mortgages, if they don't have any credit on their credit report, then I know how to build a non-traditional credit report and use their light bill, gas bill, telephone bill, childcare bill, whatever it is, and create a credit score for you so that you can now get into this home. Once you get into the home and get a mortgage, now you've got good credit on your credit report, and you can exercise that and make that grow. Okay. So one of the rules, and I want to just go back to it, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Treat your creditors as you'd have your debtors treat you. The next thing I'm going to say to you about credit is this. Use credit to leverage you getting the things that you need and not to splurge on the things that you want. Okay? The harvest is here. The time is now. It is your season.
Don't turn that dial. We have to take a break.
More of the Millionaires Roundtable, coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I'm your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are creating millionaires one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time, and that means you. Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I'm your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are creating millionaires one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and one dime at a time, and that means you. Yes, the harvest is here. The time is now. I'm going to keep on saying it so we can all be reminded of it. We are talking about the Stair Step to Wealth, number 7. We're dealing with credit. This is a place where we can actually exercise a little more power than we think. Credit does not have to be a permanent state of bondage. And credit doesn't have to be something that you are fearful of. So when I talk about my 2 basic underlying rules for credit, one is to treat your creditors as you'd have your debtors treat you, and pay the people back. And if you can't, call them. It's just as simple as that, okay? And the next principle is to use credit to manage cash flow for the things that you need and not to splurge on the things that you simply want. I remember having, in Chicago, there was a store called Marshall Fields. And here in California, you can find many different department stores. I don't know if it was closer to a Bloomingdale's. I think Marshall Field was probably closer to Bloomingdale's. Although Marshall Fields eventually became like a Macy's. But Marshall Fields was more upscale than Macy's. But the point is, I'd go to Marshall Fields and I would charge my new Coach bag every chance I could. Whenever there was enough available credit on the credit card, it was as if there was the Cookie Monster. It was like there was a credit monster running around inside my head saying, go spend, go spend, go spend. So I didn't have enough money to buy the purse cash. And so I never buy. I do own some nice handbags, but I pay cash for them. And I can keep that money in there. I can keep the amount of cash in there as well, because we all live by the universal purse test. But I remember buying this purse. I had to pay the bill. And then in a few months, 4 or 5 months, I didn't even like carrying the purse anymore, but I was still paying the bill. I was still paying the bill, and I was still paying the bill for a long time. And that's when I stopped using credit to charge things like that. Now, certainly there are emergencies that happen. So I would also say use credit to manage emergencies. So again, that would fall into the category of the things that we need. And I think if we just get into that state, then we can find ourselves making better decisions when it comes to over leveraging ourselves and getting things out of control. I remember getting my credit straight and my husband's credit straight, and then charging stuff that I really didn't need. And then when I needed the access to the credit, everything was at the limit. And so then I started to pay things late. And that's one of the things that happened during the recession of 2008. So we want to be strategic about this thing. Credit is something that you can master. And I have a 700 credit club at asklynn.org. But I'm encouraging as many people as possible to get to the 800 club. Okay. And we can do it because the harvest is here. The time is now, and you have the power. I'm financial expert Lynn Richardson. You may have seen me on Good Morning America giving financial advice. When you get my freedom package, you get the 21 days to financial freedom and how to start a home-based business. See you in class. The harvest is here. The time is now. We are talking about Stair Step to Wealth number 7, and it is managing your credit. And, I keep this one over here as number 7 because I don't want you to be afraid to build wealth without good credit. Now, am I saying everybody should file bankruptcy? Absolutely not. Am I saying everybody should ignore their credit and wait till the end? Absolutely not. But do not let bad credit stop you from planning for retirement,
Do not let bad credit stop you from building in other areas. Do not let bad credit stop you from having a successful business, because it was me having a successful business that allowed me to get out of debt, or to even put myself in a situation to build good credit, so that ultimately, as things began to unfold and my businesses began to explode, the two started to work together hand in hand. But I did not wait to become debt free first to become wealthy. I did not wait to get my credit straight first. I worked on what I could at the time that I was able to. And so for me, the foundation started with spending less money. And then I was on a mission to go and get more money. So I talk about that in my book, The Symphony, A Guide to Creating and Balancing Multiple Streams of Income, so that you can start to get the money that you need. You don't have money to pay your bills. We need more money, right? Or less bills. And sometimes those bills can't just disappear. Sometimes it's not just as simple as not going to get your nails done, or not going to get your hair done, or taking the kid out of maybe daycare and placing them, letting your mother or someone babysit, or if that's even possible. Sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes it's debt that we have and we cannot get rid of it. Now, let me say this to you. People ask me about consolidation companies. I do not recommend consolidation companies. Let me tell you why. If let's say you've got 10 different credit cards and you want to consolidate everything into one lower payment, that consolidation company is going to reach out to your creditor, and the creditor may agree not to harass you, but it does not mean the creditor will refrain from reporting you late to the credit bureau. So they may still report you late. The next issue with a consolidation situation is you do not have the protection of the law. So if they consolidate all your bills and decide to change their mind, or there's a new premise, or there's a new policy or something like that, you don't have the protection of the law. And if you're going to do a consolidation, you want to formalize it in a bankruptcy. So one, you have the protection of the law, and two, you have the potential to not pay off as much interest. Now, am I suggesting that we should all try to go file bankruptcy so we don't have to pay anybody? No. When I filed bankruptcy the first time, I cried. The second time, I cried not as long, because the second time really wasn't my fault. I had planned properly, the recession hit, and it was the next best thing for me to do. One of the things that Oprah says is, when you don't know what to do, don't think about the whole problem. Just make the next best decision. So I want you making the next best decision. What is that decision for you? Who do you need to call now? If you are a debtor and you borrowed some money, do you need to call someone and apologize? Your power is in your integrity. The harvest is here and the time is now.
You have been listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. It's W.E.A.L.T.H, 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation, our favorite radio station. I want you to follow me on social media at Lynn Richardson. Follow this show at Lynn Millionaire. Go and get help at asklynn.org, because I want to help you take it to the next level. Guess what? I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. You have been listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. It's W.E.A.L.T.H, 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation, our favorite radio station. I want you to follow me on social media at Lynn Richardson. Follow this show at Lynn Millionaire. Go and get help at asklynn.org, because I want to help you take it to the next level. Guess what? I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.